Have you ever wondered what the difference is between Google advertising and Facebook advertising? That can include Google SEO because, like I always say, nothing is free. It's either you get what you pay for, i.e. ads, or you pay in time for what you don't, i.e. SEO. When is the right time to use Google versus Facebook? Is there a Google versus Facebook? Should you be using both? In this session, that's what we're going to break down. Google versus Facebook. Which one do you use, and more importantly, which one should be my primary? Which one should I spend most of my money on? That's going to come down to what you understand your needs for your particular business or your particular marketing campaign. And that, first of all, is going to be defined by you understanding the fundamental difference between the two. Google is a query-based marketing platform. In other words, I have to rely on somebody searching for a particular search term in order for me to advertise to people. The bonus in this is that I know who's looking for what to buy, man. Like I don't need to guess. The person searched for buy basketball sneakers, my town, Birmingham, my town, London, my town, whatever it may be. A person searched for that term, if I put an ad to that person, I know they want that thing. I just now need to make sure my sales effort to try and stand out of the rest of the crowd that are trying to also advertise to that person is better than the rest, right? Very simple. Facebook, on the other hand, is impression-based advertising. In other words, we do not know who wants to buy what. We can only serve up ads according to what we know people are interested in or what we know people's demographic is. So if we can advertise to people based on if they're male, if they're female, based on certain ages, based on certain locations, and of course based on what we know they are actually spending time doing. What do they watch? What are they into? What pages do they like? Where do they go? This kind of data is available to us on Facebook. And of course, most people don't realize that Facebook have actually partnered with some of the biggest data companies in the world. Datalogix, Acxiom, Experian from the UK. They connect with these companies and they'll say, I've got data on a person called Ronaldo Edmondson. What data do you have? And then these big data companies will feed back. We know how much they paid on insurance. We know what car they bought. We know this, we know that. So now Facebook becomes this big, huge behavior database. But still, I have no idea who wants to buy what. I can only serve up ads accordingly. With Google, you pay every time somebody clicks on your ad once it has been shown. On Facebook, you pay for every time your ad reaches a person's profile. And so this is what most people get confused about on Facebook, why you're always going to be spending money for as long as you have budgeted your ads and you set your ads as active. You're going to be spending money because you spend money every time your ad is seen by another person's profile. Google, on the other hand, you can end up someday spending no money because nobody decides to click on your ad. So that is the fundamental difference between the two. And of course, these fundamental differences start opening up new ideas and new understandings as to the way you should approach the two platforms themselves. One of those is market reach. So how much of a market can I reach on Google? How much of a market can I reach on Facebook? And how difficult or easy is it to reach that market? Well, on Google, it's a little bit different because I have to rely on people searching for a particular thing that I'm trying to sell. If they're not searching for it, there ain't no market for it. And so therefore, I don't really have any market control with Google. I can try and create billboards and buzz and all these different things in the media that can increase search terms overall in Google for my particular term, but that's very, very, very expensive to do. And those are heavy, heavy PR campaigns. Generally speaking, if I'm trying to find people who are into a specific course, who may be into a specific subject area, and it's only low, tiny amounts of people that are searching for it every month, there actually isn't anyone for me to really advertise to be very profitable. So I need to understand, how do I create, or I need to find a way that I can create a new market. Now, Facebook is that answer. Facebook is an infinite marketplace in general. In other words, because we don't know who wants to buy what, but we do know what people are interested in, I can bring things to people's attention that they didn't actually know before. So now I can essentially wake up new groups of people to new ideas. For example, I've just created a new product in the marketplace of sport. So I love basketball. Let's say I've created a new type of footwear in basketball. If I try and do a Google AdWords campaign and I look for people who are searching for the name of the footwear, it's going to be difficult. If I try to show ads to people who are searching for basketball shoes, well, I'm now competing with LeBron James shoes, Dwayne Wade shoes, Michael Jordan shoes, and all the rest of it, and it's very unlikely someone's just going to stumble onto mine and take mine. So I need to create a marketing campaign where I can bring people around to what my stuff actually is and why my product is so unique and different. Well, that Facebook's perfect for that. I can go after people who like the NBA, who like Michael Jordan, who like LeBron James, who like Kobe Bryant, who like shoes and footwear and all these sort of things. I can isolate that group and I can start showing ads that are bringing people around to and making them understand what's the difference between this new shoe that I've just created. Starting to make sense? You can essentially create new markets on Facebook because you've got infinite reach, but you don't know who wants to buy what. So this is the luxury, and this is a little bit of a different story. Now, in all cases, when you're using and you're looking at these two platforms, there are use cases, right? So there are times where Facebook is not appropriate for what you are trying to do, especially if your goals are to make some money in a short term, for example. So I always say to people, Google really is perfect for the need business, while Facebook is perfect for the want business. Why? The need business is my arm is cut and I'm bleeding and I need a doctor. I need to find the nearest doctor to me or I'm gonna bleed to death. I'm not gonna rely on a Facebook ad to find that doctor. I may rely on a Google ad, and that's maybe an extreme example. So let's use a dentist example. I need a certain type of tooth operation, or I need my teeth fixing, or I want to find a new dentist because I've just moved into a new area somewhere in a new country. I need to find out where can I get that. I'm not going to rely on a Facebook ad for that. I'm going to go into Google and actually search for dentist, local dentist, my town. All of a sudden now I get all the answers I need because I'm in the need business. That's when I need something. So if you're selling something to somebody that people generally need, Google is always the best place because people need it now. And so they need a response now and they're ready to part with money now. Facebook, on the other hand, is perfect for the want business. And this is not to say Google, you don't do want businesses in Google. No. You can do both. But in terms of perfection and what they are best case used for, Facebook is perfect for the want business because I can create desire. I can make you want something now because I know other things that you're interested in. And I can wake up people to new areas and new ideas that they didn't have before, even if they're not searching for it in Google, right? So if you're in the need business, start with Google AdWords. That is where your primary money should be spent. Yes, it can get very expensive and there's ways around that, but start in Google AdWords is going to be your best friend in that situation. If you're in the want business, fundamentally you should start on Facebook ads, and you should be pushing Facebook ads purely and simply because you can create the desire and create the market want inside of that area. And that all leads to how easy or difficult is it to sell on these platforms, right? Because there are nuances that make one more difficult to sell on than the other. Of course, Google is generally easier to sell on. It's harder to stand out though, right? So this is what most people don't realize. While it's easy to sell, it's not easy to stand out from a crowd of other people who are also going after the same thing as you. Unless you have a good Google AdWords guy who knows how to ensure that you're ranked in the top 2. If you're not in the top 2, generally now you're in the bottom 3 or bottom 4 and you're not going to get seen. So it's not always so easy to get noticed in Google, and it's expensive. Very expensive. Why? Because Google is now nearing the end of their adoption curve. Everybody knows if I'm going to go and advertise, I'm going to go to Google to advertise. So you are really competing with high competitive bids, all other people that want to be ranked as highly as possible inside of Google AdWords. So it gets very expensive depending on your industry. Facebook is on the other hand harder to sell, right? It's actually harder to sell on Facebook, especially out of the gate. Why? Because we don't know who wants to buy what, right? I can create that desire, I can create that want, but I don't know who wants to buy what because I only know who is interested in what. So generally speaking, out of the gate, Facebook is generally harder to sell. It's easier to stand out though. Why? Because of the creatives we have and all the different placements we can use. The creatives in Facebook give you way more real estate to explain and give more context on whatever offer that you have for your product. Whereas Google, we only have a small little tiny area and we have to use the right keywords in the right place. So we can become limited sometimes in how we can express our written advertising. So Facebook is generally easier to stand out for that reason. And of course, it is inexpensive. Inexpensive traffic. Google, you're going for traffic. Facebook, you're going for traffic. Because the traffic is inexpensive, now we can do a ton, way more market research and do so effectively, especially when we're working with a new product. So, my friends, if you are thinking about marketing online, digital marketing, generally you're going to end up with Google and Facebook as usually your fundamental places that you're probably going to start. And when we're saying Facebook, we're talking about Instagram as well, because Facebook owns Instagram. If you are going to do that, you must understand what type of business are you in? Are you in the need business or are you in the want business? How popular and how old or how well known is your industry? Depending on how well known your industry is, will define how much it's probably going to cost you, for example, on Google AdWords, how to stand out or to be at the top of your listing. For example, if I'm in the Forex niche and I'm selling Forex products and these kind of things, it's going to be very, very expensive. Could be £28 a click and just not make sense for my economics. So even though I may be in a needish business, I can end up going over to Facebook just because it's too expensive. Dentistry is the same. Certain operations are the same. In Google, they can be £40, £50 a click sometimes, £30 a click in certain regions. So it actually may make sense to even do a need business on Facebook. Again, these are guidelines and these are frameworks for how you should manage this. But generally, if you're in a need business, oh, I do mobile phone repairs. A person is going to Google mobile phone repair because they've got their phone broke right now and they need it fixing. Once it's fixed, there's no need for them to bother with you again for a while. Hence, a Facebook ad for that kind of industry is not going to make much sense. So measure and have a look at what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish for your business. Based on the type of thing you're trying to accomplish, you will prioritize your spend and primarily use your spend up in an area that is going to get you the best return according to your business needs. Hope this makes sense. Any questions, please do comment.